Hello, everyone. My name is Taylor Dials. I'm the Environmental Health Coordinator here at the New Orleans Health Department. As you're probably aware, in response to the emergency declaration related to excessive heat, the City of New Orleans is turning to essential and reserve staff, as well as volunteers, to assist in outreach and water distribution in area homeless encampments. This training here today will help you prepare for your work in the field. Here's what we're going to be discussing today, starting with some important context for the city's response. Who are some of the agencies we're working with, what to expect during your shift, some safety considerations, and a few pieces about logistics to make sure that you have a successful day. It's important to note that this response is being led by the Office of Homeless Services and Strategies, which is a new office that was established earlier this year. We at the health department are supporting, so you know that my team is responsible for coordinating and conducting public health sanitation operations in area homeless encampments. So both of our teams have a lot of experience in the field working with our unhoused residents, and that's why I'm speaking to you today. If you're not aware by now, New Orleans is currently experiencing one of, if not the hottest summer on record. It has been and will continue to be punishingly hot over the next few days, if not longer into the next few weeks. We are going to have heat indices over 115 degrees over the next few days. And as you can see here in this chart, those heat indices of 115 and above puts us squarely in the danger category, which is why the emergency declaration was issued. Another important piece of context, this map here, it shows the locations of some of our larger encampment areas. Those are those triangles on that map. This operation and your work will mostly be focused on the Claiborne and Calliope corridors, but it is important to note that there are smaller encampment areas throughout the city that we'll be needing to hit, as well as folks who live in the Central Business District or the French Quarter. We also know that there are folks living in abandoned buildings or out of their cars that are experiencing this heat just like everyone else. Everyone that I just described is in need of assistance, and through our efforts and efforts of our community-based partners, we're attempting to address all of their needs. So what are we doing and why are we doing it? We are going into these encampment areas to do three important things. One, first, make sure that folks are okay. Second, we want to be distributing as much water as possible. And three, letting folks know where they can go to cool off. We're very fortunate to have some community-based partners that have been doing this work already for weeks. Unity, Travelers Aid, Grace of the Green Light. Like I said, they've been doing this for the last few weeks, and the city's stepping in now to hopefully take some of the pressure off of them as we continue this really, really essential work. So what can you expect on the day of your shift? I guess before I get into those procedures, I do want to make a quick note that it's really important to remember, especially as we're entering encampment areas, that we are entering someone's home. When you walk up to a tent, it's just like walking up to your neighbor's door. So that it's really important that we treat these areas with respect. We do have an important job to do. We do need to be there. So we don't want you to be fearful or timid, but instead to be purposeful and respectful with your entry into these places. That first important goal of this outreach, those welfare checks, it is essential that we are checking every single tent, couch, or mattress for someone. Sometimes it may look like, there's a couch and a pile of clothes on it, but actually underneath that pile of clothes is a person sleeping. We want to be going through and be very, very detailed in our checks to make sure that we haven't missed anybody. We want to sort of identify if there's anybody sleeping to wake them up, respectfully and purposefully give a clear and loud, excuse me, or hey, good morning, hey, are you awake? Whatever you might need to say in order to wake someone up to make sure that they are alert and attentive. Once you've gotten that done, you can start asking some of these questions that I have listed here. How are you feeling? Are you getting enough water? One thing that we found in our work is that not everyone is necessarily going to be willing to be open and honest with a stranger that's coming up and asking them questions. But if you ask about their neighbor or their friends, they're more likely to raise concerns. So a great question to ask is, hey, do you know if your neighbor's home? Have they been doing okay lately? That's a great question that I always try to go to if people are a little put off by my presence. Um, it is really important to be able to know the signs and symptoms of heat illness and to be prepared to call 911. Unfortunately, we have already had a number of folks in encampment areas pass away over the last few weeks, and we want to make sure we're doing everything we can to prevent the further loss of life. So here are those symptoms, starting with heat exhaustion. Obviously, we're going to expect to see folks who are sweating, but we also really want to pay attention to issues of dizziness, nausea, or weakness. These are maybe good questions to ask of folks, like, hey, you've been feeling dizzy lately, feeling nauseous at all? If you want to sort of get into those details. If someone seems confused, or if they've stopped sweating, or especially if you try to wake somebody up and they don't wake up, it's really important to call 911 right away. We want to err on the side of caution, and so if you're not sure whether or not it's a good idea to call 911, we would rather you do it. The second goal of our outreach, obviously, is water distribution. Hydration is essential during this period of excessive heat. So everyone's going to have coolers with ice and bottles of water. The goal is to give out 2 bottles of water per person, with an extra bottle if they've got a pet. In your course of conversation, if someone says that, hey, their neighbor's out at work or at a meeting, feel free to leave extra bottles. Again, err on the side of caution. Leave more if you can. What we do need everybody to do is to keep track of how many bottles of water you distribute and how many people you see. Your team lead, who will be sort of coordinating your operation and your field work, will have the documentation to collect that information, but we need the entire team to be doing your best to maintain consistent and accurate data. The third goal of our outreach is this information piece. We're letting folks know about available cooling centers. This column on the left are some of the cooling centers that I pulled off of the NOLA Ready map that are relatively close to some of the major encampment areas. Really, we want to be hitting that any of the big homeless shelters or any of the North Sea sites are going to be good options for folks. It is important to know that those aren't going to be open 24 hours, but they will have extended hours, more than their traditional operating times. However, the other important piece here is that the city is opening the Rosenwald Rec Center on Thursday, August 10th as an overnight cooling center if folks are interested. That overnight period is really important for your body to cool down and reset. And so when folks don't have the opportunity to cool down overnight, that's when we start running into more health concerns. So we do want to encourage folks to seek shelter if possible at any of the shelters if they have availability, but also then at the Rosenwald Rec Center. So while we're doing these important 3 goals during our outreach, we also want to emphasize that it's important for all of you to stay safe as well. We are going to be working in this heat as well, so we want to make sure that folks are dressing appropriately and staying hydrated. Be sure to take a break if you need it. Otherwise, as far as safety is concerned, just really be aware of your surroundings and be smart. Ultimately, if you start to feel unsafe, the best course of action is to simply walk away. One of the other sort of major safety concerns for us as we're entering the encampment space is potential opioid overdoses. If you're going and waking someone up and someone is unresponsive, and as you're trying to rouse them, they have inconsistent breathing, blue lips or fingernails, small pupils, anything like that, they could be overdosing. It's essential that someone in that state be administered Narcan as soon as possible. Narcan, of course, being the overdose reversing medication. Um, and then not only do we need to administer Narcan, but we need someone to call 911 right away. Medical attention is needed right away because opioids can stay in the system longer than Narcan does. So, there is the possibility that you administer Narcan. They appear to be fine, but in the next like half hour or 45 minutes, they re-overdose. So making that call to 911 right away is essential. All of your team leads will have Narcan on them, so they should be able to handle the administration. But we do want to be able to make sure that you can identify those signs of an overdose just in case. Additional safety concerns, any small first aid issues may be able to be handled on site with your team lead's first aid kit. But really, especially in this heat, we want to be erring on the side of caution for folks who may be ill. So again, if someone is expressing to you that they're having some illness symptoms, they're having stomach issues, dehydration again is going to be really important. So always err on the side of caution and be ready to reach out for medical help. In a similar vein, if someone seems to be having a behavioral health crisis, you can call 911, and instead of asking for EMS support, you can specifically request our new mobile crisis intervention unit. This is through 911, but instead of dispatching either police or EMS, they will dispatch a team of mental health experts who can sort of triage and assist anybody who's having a behavioral health crisis. So we want to make sure that you all are aware of that as a tool while you're out in the field, just in case. Some final logistics here. Again, we want to make sure that folks are dressing appropriately for the heat and for walking. This is a dynamic situation. We want everyone to be fully prepared for what could potentially be a long day considering the heat. You can expect to be in the field for a few hours at least. So please, please, please plan accordingly. Everyone will be paired with a team lead who has extensive experience in encampment outreach. They will be your point person in the field. So if folks have questions that you don't know the answer to, it's best to direct those individuals to your team lead. Your team lead will also have all of the materials that you need for outreach, as well as your distribution route prepared ahead of your shift. That is all I have for you. Thank you for your time and your willingness to assist in ensuring the health and safety of some of our most vulnerable neighbors. Good luck out there, and I will probably be seeing you in the field.